This is the Kia EV6, which starts at 47,000 euros. In this video, we're going to launch it from 0 to 60. We're going to check out everything that the car has to offer, the exterior, the interior, all the features, and let's get into the video. Let's take a look at the design of the car and first of all, the back, because this, in my opinion, is the most controversial thing that you can find on the car. The big light bar up top reminds me a little bit of the DBX, which is not a bad thing at all. And I like the light bar in general. And then also these amazing reversing lights down here, which are pretty tiny. Those are the only reverse lights you have, so it might be a little bit hard for for other traffic members to see you when you're backing up, because you only have them down there. If you want to see some night pictures now, there's one right on the screen now, so how it looks at night, and it looks pretty nice. We also have a roof spoiler, which is pretty cool. Makes it look a little bit more sporty if you're into that. Further on, we have our side lights. Again, you can see how far they go down. They go all the way almost into the wheels. And then we have some more fake vents here, which the car in general has. The color for this car is matte gray, which is a pretty cool color. I love it. It's the only matte color you can also get. And look at these massive wheels. 19-inch standard. It goes up all the way to 21-inch wheels. These are the winter tires, so they have the 19-inch wheels on here. With some privacy glass, and the side profile just looks amazing. Look at that thing. If you're interested, the car it starts at 47,000 euros. With this GT package that we have, it's going to cost you 10,000 extra. And this right here, this model exactly, is going to cost you around 65,000 euros. And now let's take a look at the front, which has dual LED lights in here. And just the aggressiveness of that. It gets so many views from other people when you're driving around. It's stunning. And we do have some fake vents here, but I think they really add to the front of the sportiness of the whole car. And that's just amazing. It looks pretty cool. We also have a little bit of Frunk in here, which we'll look at later. Welcome to the front of the EV6, where we have lots of great features, and the quality in here is also amazing. With the middle console not moving at all. We have amazing blinker sounds. I love those, and they just feel very nice as well. The steering wheel feels absolutely amazing, with actual buttons still on there, which is a perfect mix between buttons. And one thing we do have is a touch-sensitive control in the middle, because you can switch between your climate and also your navigation and shortcut menu, which is very nice with these kind of two wheels on the side, or knobs, so you can just switch between your climate and your volume, which is great. You also have heated seats, ventilated seats, and steering wheel heating steering wheel, which is great. The seats in here are made of recycled plastic, well, some recycled plastic, and they feel very nice, and they are very comfortable to drive in. And again, we have lots of storage space in here. We have some storage space right below your elbow. We have inductive loading. We have some storage space for your cups. We also have some storage space down here, which is plenty. You can fit a whole car in there. We have two USB-Cs. We have a USB and a 12-volt or 180-watt charging port. And obviously, because there's no driving shaft, we have a lot more space in here. It just feels very spacious in general. We also have a really big glove box. Like, that thing is massive. I've never seen anything like that big in my life. And then we also have two 32.1 centimeters or 12.1 inches of central console or displays, your navigation display and your central console, which are also very nice. I do like the displays in here. We'll talk a little bit more about those once we're actually driving. We also have memory function here, so you can select between two different seating positions that you have previously set up. And there's also a button on the side, which you can press or hold basically down, and it will put you into the sleeping position. So while you're charging, or you just wanted to relax for a little bit in your vehicle, you can just put that, or you can press the button and it'll put you in the optimal sleeping position, which is absolutely amazing, because look at that. It's a pretty good sleeping position. And you can press it again and it will put you up again to your normal sleeping position. One thing I also like is the drive mode selector on the steering wheel. And the steering wheel is also like this smiley thing, which is pretty cool. Like, if you're sad, you can just look at the steering wheel. It's going to smile at you with one teeth. And we also have a heads-up display. And again, the Meridian sound system, that's also an option with 14 speakers, which is going to cost you 990 euros extra. But that I think is a very good invested money, because it just sounds very nice with a big subwoofer in the back as well. So if you're a really lazy person and don't want to walk to your car, you can just hold this button down on your key and then also hold this button down, and it'll start moving forward. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Like, wow. There we go, now it's going to move. Look at that thing. It's just going to move. We can just, oh, now I don't want to walk that far. Or, oh, no. Wait, you got to back up. I don't want to go into that parking space by myself. You can just press it. It's going to reverse into there itself, which is amazing. You can also make it automatically park, which is another cool thing. So you can press the button, it's going to park. You might want to watch out if there's a big cliff behind you, because it might fall down it. But that's a pretty cool feature. Because the car has keyless go, you can actually walk up to it once it's closed, stand behind the car for a little bit, it's going to do the beep, 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 and then it's going to open up automatically, which is pretty nice. Up here we have 490 liters of space. It gets deducted a little bit because we have the subwoofer in the back, so there's not that much storage space in here, which is kind of unfortunate because you can't actually hide your cables anywhere or your adapter, so it's just going to have to lie around in there, which is not the greatest thing. And also, one thing I like is it's pretty high up, so it's very easy to load something in here because you don't have a big lip up here. One thing that's not the greatest is your camera, and your opening button is right below where everything gets dirty, so your hands might get a little bit dirty all the time when doing that. One thing you can also do is fold over the back seats by just pulling on this lever, and then they're going to flip over automatically. You might think you're going to break the thing because it actually is pretty hard to flip them over. With the seats folded over, you're going to have around 1,300 liters of storage space. So plenty enough to get everything that you want in there to go on a ski trip or whatever you need. And you can also obviously take this out and actually put it below your false floor. So that's also a thing if you want to hide that. One thing I like about the back seats is that you can actually recline your seats. So you can have a pretty comfortable sleeping position in here, which is pretty cool. But that sleeping position is kind of affected by your seating position due to the fact that the batteries are pretty high up. Your feet are also pretty high up, and therefore you're angled and not the most comfortable seating position. So you have a lot of space below here because you can't really put your feet below the seat as well. If you have bigger feet, they can't really fit down there because there's not that much space, but we do have a ton of legroom in here. So that seating position might be a little bit comfortable over time. We do have some storage space in here. We have two cup holders, and you can switch it back and you have some storage space with a pretty far-reaching back storage space in there as well. And you can also flip over this kind of pass-through, so you can have like small skis in there because the hole is not that big. The seats in front are a little bit weird because they're like hard plastic. That might be due to the fact that we have a side airbag in here, so they extend into the middle. But I'm not the biggest fan of the hard plastic in here. It just makes it look a little bit unpleasant, and just the quality doesn't fit in because the rest of the quality is pretty nice. We do have two USB-Cs in the middle. We don't have a drive shaft, so we have a lot of space in here. We also have heated seats in the back for both seats, as well as some climate control on each pillars on the side. And also the Meridian sound system in the back is great because we have the subwoofer right in the back if you have the Meridian sound system, so it sounds very nice. That is basically it for the back seats, and yeah. So let's take a look at the Frunk, because there's actually one in here. So if you open it opens up automatically again. We have this beautiful V8 engine in here. No, we don't. We have a beautiful little storage cubby in here. If you have the dual motor setup, it's going to be a little bit less storage space in there, so it's perfect place for your AirPods. You can just close them up and forget about them. So we can just close that back up again. And they're completely safe, nobody's going to steal them. That's basically it for the Frunk. It's pretty small. If you opt for the dual motor setup with 325 horsepower, you're going to be able to get around a range of 508 kilometers. You're going to be able to charge that range from 10 to 80% in around 18 minutes at 240 kilowatt an hour. If you want more range, get a lower version with only rear-wheel drive. You're going to be able to get 528 kilometers range. It also has a vehicle to load feature, which you can just plug in and adapt anything that you want, meaning you can charge a refrigerator or even your house for a couple of hours, a couple of days, however much you use. One thing that's also pretty cool, you can close this thing just pressing on it. So elegant, so nice, it saves you a lot of time. So in addition to the big displays you have in the center, you also have a heads-up display, which you get with the GT package. The heads-up display shows you all the relevant information. It shows you when lane assist. Let's see, there's nobody oncoming, so we can see if we go on site, it's going to show you, okay, you got to go a little bit further to the right because you're moving on over to the left side. You also have sign detection, which is a pretty nice feature. You also have on your steering wheel, you do have the buttons for your lane assist, you have steering assist, you have distance control, and you also have your speed limiter, which is a pretty cool function. So when you turn all of those on, it's basically autonomous driving. We can try to do that right now. If we turn on lane assist, distance control, and also the speeding limiter to 70, and if I take off the hand off my steering wheel, you can see it's going to automatically steer, and after around 10 seconds it's gonna, I was a little bit close to the edge there, after about 10 seconds it's gonna show you, okay, you gotta press it again, or you gotta put your hand on the steering wheel, otherwise it's gonna basically put your car to an emergency stop because it thinks you're incapable of driving the car. So with the dual motor setup, Kia says you have a range of around 506 kilometers. What we've been able to get in the winter conditions has been around 420, something like that, but obviously it's winter, it's a little bit more, the range depends on how the weather condition obviously is. And Kia also says you get an estimated usage of around 17.2 kilowatt an hour. We've been able to get in the last 170 kilometers 18.4, which is actually pretty decent. I think that's a pretty close to what the estimated is, and also again we're in the winter situation. And then the last 1,000 kilometers we've got an average of 20.8. That is a lot of kilometers on the autobahn as well. So yeah, we've been driving this car for 1,200 kilometers, so I think it's a pretty good estimate. Around you're gonna get around 20, I think, on average. That's what you're gonna get, but you can definitely get it down. I think you can even get it down to the 17.2, so that's a pretty good estimate there from Kia, and I think it's pretty accurate. So also another thing on your digital cluster instrument is that you have a couple of, well, you obviously have a different modes. For instance, your sport mode, which you can change with the drive mode on here, which is, I think, is very nice. You can also see we have this layout right now, but we can change that into, if we go into the normal, it's a little bit different, and then the sport also a little bit different. And then you also have the snow mode. The snow mode is for if you're driving in the snow, obviously, that's what it stands for. But it just puts the power onto all four wheels, but it's not going to accelerate the wheels that quickly, just so you can get better grip out of the snowy situation. So it's good for trying to get out of snow situation. You can definitely see right now that the lane assist is definitely kicking in here, and it's telling me, okay, you can't go onto the side here because otherwise you're gonna go off the road, and it's trying to steer against it, but I'm trying to go away from that other car, so it's kind of irritating. But there's not much customization you can do in the digital cluster system. You can't really change, like, have your navigation on there or anything like that, which is unfortunate. I would have expected a little bit more. But so you only have 3 different modes, and just listen to that lane assist always giving you that heads up, okay, move to the side. You can obviously turn it off, but you can only turn off the sound if you turn the function off completely, which is kind of unfortunate. Also, a thing that you have, because of your blind spots, you can't really see out that nicely on the sides. You have a camera which shows you your blind spots on the side, which is pretty nice because you have this big pillar on the side, so you can't really see much out, and also a pretty small rear window. We can also feel the suspension. Obviously it's pretty firm because the GT line is also trying to be a little bit more sporty with a 325 horsepower and 605 Newton meters. So I think the suspension is actually fairly great if you're going sporty, but driving a longer distance on bumpy roads, it's not the greatest. It's pretty firm, but with the great center of gravity of this thing, it just feels so great around corners. You can't really feel that this thing weighs 2.5 tons, or 2.1 tons actually. So I've turned off the lane assist so we can stop listening to that weird sound all the time and drive around the corners a little bit more sporty. Look at that acceleration. It goes really nicely from 0 to 100 in 5.2 seconds, which is absolutely great. And it just sticks to the corners very nicely. We obviously have a car in front now, which is not the greatest. There's a branch on the street as well, but that thing just sticks to the road so nicely. It's amazing. So let's do our test on how fast this car can go from 0 to 100. It says 5.2 seconds. We're gonna see what we can do. We're in sport mode, and we got also a race box up there. So let's see what we can do. Foot on the brake, and let's go. 5.23, that's a little bit, well, it's almost exactly as what Kia says with 5.2. Fastest we've been able to get is 5.1, so let's do it one more time. There we go, 5.19, that is a good time. We got 0 to 60 is pretty quick with 2.5, what's obviously for an electric car, that's very nice. But 5.2 with 325 horsepower, that's pretty impressive in my opinion. And there we go, even in winter conditions we are able to get sub 5.2. I have seen some other ones even get below the 5-second mark. So this car definitely has more, and I think in the summer condition, I mean, we're also sitting in here with 2 people and lots of equipment in the back, so that might be a little bit of a difference in there as well. And also the steering is very direct in here, which I like. So every input that you do, you can definitely feel perfectly aligned with the road. And also another thing is that the steering wheel does feel a little bit heavy, but I think it's perfectly balanced between heavy and too light, so it does feel very nicely in your hands. Definitely a lot better than some other cars we've driven. And you also have some engine sound in here. So you can, I have it off right now because after a little bit I think it's just annoying, but you can put it on to extreme, and we have the cyber mode on right now. So if we slow down a little bit and accelerate, you can definitely hear the sound. That's like the cyber sound, which sounds pretty cool. And we have the dynamic mode, which is apparently the expression for a dynamic sound for electric vehicles. So if we turn that on now, I think that sounds pretty cool. So it doesn't sound that bad. And then last we have the stylish, which is the natural, dynamic and beautiful sound of an electric car. That's what the title says in there. I don't know, after a little bit I think it's just a little bit annoying. You can also individualize it, so if you want to go on there you can basically say how quickly the sound picks up after you hit the throttle. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. I usually just turn it off because it sounds a little bit annoying after a little bit. So while we're driving in town, we'll talk about the turning radius a little bit. The turning radius is said to be 11.6. 11.6 is not bad for this kind of car, but okay, why can't you just go in? It actually feels very big. When you're trying to turn, it just feels like you're turning a whole spaceship, which is not the greatest thing. Another thing you can also do while you're driving is you can turn on your cameras, so you can look around you. You can check if you're driving in a very small road, which is nice. So you can see how close am I to the border, or how close are my wheels to touching the border if you're not that familiar with the car. And you also have the 360 degrees camera, which is a beautiful camera. I love that, especially on this car. It just looks amazing. And I like having this on the whole time because you can see if somebody's behind you and well, how close they are behind you as well. And it's just pretty cool. So let's go into the sport mode once again. We don't have that much range left, so we're gonna have to charge it here before we do the 0 to 100 test. But it's just so sporty. It goes really nicely once you're accelerating. Even from like 60 to 100, it's very quick. But in general, the car sticks around the corners very flat. I love it. The steering is amazing. If you're going over longer trips, you can definitely stay in this car for a longer time because the wind noise is not that bad. It's a pretty decent car for driving a longer distance. It's comfortable. It's fun to drive, especially when going on country roads. It doesn't feel that heavy. The steering is perfect. And like I said, it doesn't feel like you're driving 2.1 tons. So one thing that is not that nice is you do have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, but they're both wired, so you can't actually use it wirelessly. And I thought in such a car with that much high tech, you definitely would have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but if you're really fond of that, you have to put in the wired version. So another cool feature that the car has to offer is automatic parking or autonomous parking. So what we do is we hit this button right down here, our parking camera, we hold it down, and then it's going to show up here. It's looking for a parking spot, so we drive past. We're going to try to park right in here. There's a maximum speed limit of 20 that you can do, and then it's going to try to find that position. There we go, and then we're just going to select okay, reverse into that backwards, and then we can select between two different options. We have the intelligent parking and also the one with the where you can go from the outside and it's going to park automatically. So we press the intelligent parking and hold this button down until the parking is completed. So reverse into it. And there we go, steering wheel is going to automatically turn, which is a pretty cool thing. So it's pretty cool if you're in the city and you're kind of scared to like park on your own, or it's a pretty tight parking space that you just don't feel comfortable in going with yourself. You can just let the car do it for you and it's going to do a pretty good job. It's going to autocorrect until it's pretty happy. It's not going to hit the board as well, or the sidewalk, which is nice. And there we go, I think that is basically it. And there we go, it finished it completely fine and you're good to go. So that's a very cool feature, and let's continue on with the drive. Okay, so for my final verdict, I'd say this is definitely a very nice car to own, and for long range drives and stuff like that, I think it's a must have. For the EV, I think it's actually, in this price, it's the best you can get for this price range if you're looking for something like this, like a crossover SUV kind of thing. But in my opinion, if you'd exactly spec this car out as you'd have it right here, around 65,000 euros, I'd spend an extra almost 4,000 euros to get the GT variant with the 585 horsepower, which is also completely specced out. You can only change the color of it. And that's basically it for the video. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.